it. Let's bring in right now the former Supreme Allied Commander of NATO, retired four-star Navy Admiral James Stavridis. He's a chief international analyst for NBC News. You know, a saying I heard when I was young that I always keep with me is beware the man with nothing to lose. Well, you can say the same but for countries. Beware the countries with nothing to lose by striking out. You can look at Russia, and as we heard earlier last week, they have a demographic time bomb going off. They have a weakening economy. So Putin flexed his muscles, went to Ukraine. We could go down the list of China's problems right now and the reason we have to fear them. But here with Iran, you have economic decline. You've got political unrest that's been going on for the past decade, just simmering under the surface. Yeah. And now the death of their president and their foreign minister. What fears do you have that they may strike out during this time of weakness?
It's a very legitimate proposition. I'll add another to your list, which is North Korea, you know, a starving dictatorship that doesn't have a lot of global options open to them. Look, the Ayatollahs are on a one-way street. They cannot turn around. They cannot get out of what is building behind them. And what is building behind them, you used the D word a minute ago, demographics. This is an extremely young society, increasingly urban. They're not looking to live the life that the Ayatollahs are offering them. So this kind of event creates, you know, an internal bubbling in addition to the whole Game of Thrones, who's going to be the next supreme leader. All of that, Joe, and this is your point, and it's a correct one, could, I think it's unlikely, but it could cause them, the Ayatollahs, to lash out in order to kind of create a rally round the flag situation in Tehran. I think it's unlikely. It's worth thinking about. I know U.S. intelligence is concerned about it. That's why our good friend, Rear Admiral John Kirby, is at pains to ensure that we don't escalate the situation and give the Ayatollahs an opportunity to lash out.
Admiral, we saw those scenes in the streets of some young people anyway celebrating the death of this president. It gets at a tension we've talked about for generations now in Iran, which is the repressive Ayatollahs, the repressive autocratic leadership in Iran does not fit with young people in that country who have ideas about freedom and democracy and Western values in some cases. Would a new leader change any of that at all? Is there any hope for those young people in Iran who want to see a different kind of leadership?
You know, back to that one-way street, the crowd behind them is building, and it's not going to go away. And I'd point you back 2 years ago to the terrible death of a young Iranian woman in the custody of the ironically named morality police of Iran. And what happened? Women and girls led a massive series of uprisings. Pretty remarkable. It's a pretty good indicator of the crowd that's behind the Ayatollahs building. They know it. There's real risk for them internally.
Mr. Admiral,
there really is. And Jonathan Lemire, the risks are real, as Willie pointed out, from and the Admiral, from a younger, growing demographic. We saw those scenes a few years ago. We saw middle school girls defiantly chant against a once feared and loathed regime. You go back even to, and it's not just Western values that they seek. They certainly, the younger or more urban Iranians do, but also there are people who are devout Muslims. I think one of the most jarring things for the religious leaders, starting with the Green Movement back well over a decade ago, is often the very people they were oppressing were chanting Allah Akbar and shouting it from the roof, saying, "We are Muslims. This is a holy fight against an oppressive and corrupt Iranian regime." Whether they call themselves mullahs or not, it is, you know, the divisions are stark there.
Yeah, divisions are stark, and there is growing momentum, which is why the regime has been so oppressive in trying to put it down. Admiral, I have some new reporting this morning about how on Sunday there were a few hours there where those in the White House and the NSC were deeply concerned that when this helicopter crash happened, that Iran would try to blame the U.S. or Israel for it, and potentially escalate a conflict which could snowball into something truly catastrophic. Even as one person put to me, even as this the first moments of World War III. Thankfully, Iran has not done that, at least not yet. They even said yesterday they did acknowledge it was mechanical failure that led to this crash. But since things are so precarious in the region, how would you say that Israel and the other Gulf states will proceed here in this moment of potential change for Iran?
Yeah, it's the right question to be asking, Jonathan. And to nail it directly, we will give Iran space at the moment, and it's in our interest to do so. Just kind of step away from the car here. Let the Iranians figure this out internally. Don't do anything that causes them to provoke their population and lash out. And I think a key thought here, we've been talking a lot about Islam and the religion inside. Don't forget, in that region, there's a huge division between the Shia branch of Islam, led by Iran, and the Sunni branch, led by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, by Egypt, by Jordan. These are ancient rivalries, much akin inside Christianity to the Wars of the Reformation between Catholics and Protestants, which lasted a couple of hundred years. So there's plenty of tension to go around. I think all sides here, including Israel, U.S., and the Sunni Arabs, need to stand back, let the Iranians have their moment. We'll deal downrange with the challenges from Tehran.
Let's, before we let you go, Admiral, let's switch topics and talk about Ukraine. Obviously, Ukrainians in a desperate struggle to hold on to Kharkiv, asking for the United States and NATO allies to shoot down Russian missiles. We've obviously, what we're seeing unfold still is sort of the delayed impact of Donald Trump, Speaker Johnson, House Republicans delaying aid to Ukraine. It's just not getting there quickly enough because of the months-long delay. The question is, what do we need to do right now in the interim before they get all the equipment that they need to stop stop Russia's push, not only into Kharkiv but always ever closer to Kyiv?
Number one, it's get them the artillery shells, the 155 howitzer rounds, the projectiles that can have real effect on the front line. Those are stacked, ready to go, under command of the NATO commander, General Chris Cavoli. Those are moving. Everything humanly we can do to accelerate that, the better. Number two, get the F-16s, the new fighters, into the game. That will effect better air defense and help the Ukrainians close their skies. And third and finally, it's long-range surface-to-surface missiles, the ATACMS. All these things are moving. The months of delay, frankly, unconscionable. We can still recover. Kharkiv can be saved, but it's going to require all hands on deck at this moment for Ukraine.
All right, retired Admiral James Stavridis, thank you very much for coming on this morning. We appreciate it once again.